Kurt, I'm shooting up. I just came across something that's really interesting, and I just want to talk about the phenomenon. I don't really know where the phenomenon lies in philosophy, mathematics, computational complexity. I don't really know what it is, but I saw this pattern and I want to bring it up. So I'm of the opinion that the best political ideology would be one that is adept to change, that can change often. And my idea was you get new founding fathers every time, every like 10 years, and they just rewrite the entire system, and this will allow it such that the system can't be exploited by evildoers, because the system's always changing, so the exploits aren't to be found. However, when you think about that, there's an outer system that's rotating the main system, and that outer system, if it's static, can also be exploited. So it has to be rotated how it changes. But then that system that dictates how the system that dictates how the major system changes. So now we're like nested. We have another system that rotates this system that basically tells it how to choose the next founding fathers. It has to rotate so it can't be exploited, but then that can't be static or it can be exploited. So then you have like an infinite regress of where every single system has to be changed every single time such that it can't be exploited. And I found this same issue in when I was trying to do an interactive proof with the axiom such that cryptographic hashes can be broken. So if you take it that cryptographic hashes can be broken, you can send something cryptographically hashed for an interactive proof, but then that key is basically broken, so it can never be used again. So you have to rotate it. But then if you're rotating based on a key, then they can figure out the rotated hash with two transactions, how you're rotating the key. So then that needs to be rotated every two transactions, and then if that's not rotated, then they can figure out that key, and so on and so forth. So it seems like this pattern that I found is like inherent in all natures of change if you're going to exploit a system. And I just found it interesting, so I wanted to share. Because I was reading this book that my boss got me, and it's called Letters to China, and it's letters by this dude who's from the Sung Dynasty in ancient China, like pre Jesus, and he comes to 1990s Munich, Germany, and I like this book a lot because it talks about language and how that's so important in constructing realities, um, in the cultural differences and everything like that, and how much that has to do with language. So I really like it, but I found it interesting that I don't really like the dude from the Sung Dynasty is bashing present day Munich, and present day Munich people are like, you say you have concubines and stuff, and you treat women like dog shit. That's no way to live either. So I don't really like either ways, but I think we have lost lots of spirituality and stuff from our past, and we're really concerned with like productivity and doing things fast, where we've forgotten that we also need to keep track of our like minds and being kind to people, and that it's not just this fast speeding game. And I think the writer of this book touches on that a lot too. I got a translation that's really good. It has some translation prizes, but it was originally written in German, um, by this dude. I don't know his name. Uh, but I found it interesting because the man who is from the Sung Dynasty is very much like humans don't know Wu Wei, which is just the process of letting go and going with the flow. Um, and then he also says that humans constantly want to change. And it says that change isn't always going to be for the best. And I do think that, but sometimes I think that humans, like, we don't want to change as fast as we are. Like, we're pushing progress and everyone's pushing progress, but I don't think we're necessarily, like, people are very afraid of change on a fundamental level still. So they say they want change, but really they don't want change, they just want more. So I was a little bit, I didn't get that criticism. And of course, I'm not in the 1990s now, I'm in the 1920s. I mean, the 1920s, the 2020s. Um, but I don't think that humans like to change that much. But I know that they don't go with the flow, especially if the flow is change. And um, I just think it because the dude from the Sung Dynasty, the old monk, was saying, well, he's not a monk. I don't really know what he is. He was saying that they just need to go with the flow and not try to change things so rapidly, because change can be bad, not good. Just because it's new and newer doesn't mean it's for the best. And I do think we run into that, although I think that if we just start changing things really fast, um, the monk specifically mentioned that you have a 50-50 chance of it being a good change or a bad change, just like the flip of a coin. If you change things very fast, you start getting better probabilities that you're going to get a good change. It's kind of like how they say the if you're trying to sell something and you go to one door, you're probably not going to get a sale. But if you try to sell something and you go to 100 doors, you're probably going to at least get one sale. So anyway, I just think that if we start changing really rapidly and being unafraid of change, instead of just trying to make progress, but also being unafraid to make change even if it stalls our progress, then we're going to get to a point, like initially, we're going to get to, sometimes you stall your progress, then you just forward. If we get less afraid of change, we're going to go somewhere really great. But that's just my thought. Now, I don't really know what to do with the infinite regress. I guess we get stuck in the same static hole. The issue that I brought up. I don't know what to do with that. I find it really interesting. This is why I gave up on, I think that IP is equal to P space, and I think that P space is greater than P, so I was trying to figure out how to save crypto at one point, so I was thinking you could do interactive proofs pretty easily, but then if you don't have crypto, how are you doing that transaction in a secure way? Because if you're doing an interactive proof, they can just get the answer pretty easily. And then I realized that you could just put it behind a firewall. But if you're behind a firewall, what's the point in doing an interactive proof, because you're already behind the firewall? But anyway, that's how I found that infinite regress last time. And then I was talking about my politics thing when I was shooting up, and then I realized that it hits the same infinite regress. If you change, you constantly have systems that change the change. And then where do you go? You can just have a randomizer instead, I guess. And that gets rid of it. But then even randomizers are somewhat mathematical. It's somewhat static. I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. If anyone does, and it's already a theory that some white guy has talked about, please let me know. Because that's what normally happens in my life. I say something and then I realize that some white man said it a long time ago and I'm already behind, but I discovered the theory myself without any help from any white men. Happens to me all the time. I get sad about it because I have this eureka moment, and then I'm like, fuck, I didn't even discover anything. They already came up with this in like the 80s. That happened with me and the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis really bad. I was like, I figured language out. It defines our realities. But I don't think they took the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis further enough because they just said it creates our culture. But yes, it does create our culture, but they were really dependent on cultural boundaries outside of like different types of language. But I think you even get Sapir-Whorf within dialects, and I'm sure someone's talked about Sapir-Whorf within dialects, but I think it's pretty huge actually. Specifically, Pacifically, how my sister says it, Pacifically, Kurtlish compared to other realities. My entire family, we can't speak worth a shit. My sister says specifically instead of specifically. My uncle says andacity instead of audacity. My grandma says ambulance instead of ambulance. And motorcycle instead of motorcycle. But it is bicycle instead of bicycle. To be fair to my grandmother. To be fair. I really gotta get some Spider-Man Band-Aids. I wonder if they make those. Last time I shot up, I gushed blood everywhere, so hopefully we'll do better than that. Name the white guy who has noticed my phenomenon. Please help me. Then you'll probably just put Kurt, because Kurt has noticed it. The infinite regress. I'm a little bit anxious about this. Just a little bit. Max anxious too, my cat. He's sitting here watching me. He's like, there's gonna blood gush forth. I just struck a vein, and I kept pushing because I was like, yeah, it's not a vein. I felt my heartbeat, and I kept pushing, and I was like, oh yeah, I just went through a vein. It's just blood coming up. And then I was like, fuck it, and I poked it right next to it, and then it still was gushing, and that was last week. Anyway, way to psych yourself up, Kurt. Way to psych yourself up. Let's see if I can do it. If it cuts here, you know that I either didn't do it within a minute because I have a minute left, or all hell broke loose. Haha! I killed it. I saw this one dude shooting up who's like a trans person, and he went from here to here. Do not stab yourself like that. Stab yourself close. You don't need to do that. Anyway, I did so well. I don't have a hole. I mean, I don't know where to put it. Have a good Sunday. Bye.